going right back to our burner here. Make sure the heat is turned up on the stove. And we'll let it heat up a little bit. It's already still really hot being in the oven. We're going to come back over here to our table. You'll see that I have a little jar there of some milky looking liquid. And this is really, all it is just cornstarch mixed with a little bit of cold water. Excuse the finger, but it's clean. And you want to mix that thoroughly. We're going to need that to thicken up the gravy. But first, what we want to do is I got a wine right here. This is a Vignoles from Anthony Road and the Finger Lakes. And we're going to just open this up. And we're going to pour some right into our pan to deglaze it. Yay! Delicious. Alright, so now that we've got that in there, what we want to do is, going back to get my spatula here, we're just going to get those little bits off the bottom best we can. So we want to get all that into the gravy. We don't want it stuck on the bottom of the pan. That's not where it's going to taste good at all. It smells great with that wine. And we'll just move it around. You see everything's nice and loose and feeling good in the bottom of that pan. Perfect. Just where we want it to be. Again, the heat is turned up about medium on this pan. We want it to be pretty warm. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and add some butter, because everything tastes better with butter. So we'll go back over here to our little butter holder. And we'll just open this up. It's a little vintage. I like it. And we're actually going to use most of this butter. And just right into the pan, where it will do the most good. We'll just swirl it around in there. It's going to melt on its own very shortly. It's a very hot pan. Alright, it's getting there. Now I'm going to wait for this butter to melt completely before I add that cornstarch, which is our thickener. And at this point, there isn't really much you need to do to season it. It still has a lot of the spices left over from the meat when it was originally coated, and it also has quite a generous bit of meat flavor from the meat itself while I was cooking in the pan. That's what we scraped up off the bottom of the pan. And that's what makes it taste absolutely delicious. So the butter's melted. Let's go ahead and we're just going to pour in that little container of cornstarch that we had. Right in here. All around. Great. We're just going to give that a little stir. You see it's changed color a little bit. It's got a little bit lighter. I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that we scrape the bottom. Everything's cooking the way we want it to. See, it really, really, really thickens up fast when you add that cornstarch. So we want to make sure it's all going to end up nice. In fact, I'm going to use if we can get a little whisk here for this. I'm going to turn the heat down just a tad on it. Bear with me as I switch hands. I am already stir that around really well here. Okay, so we've got an enormous amount of this goopy looking paste in here, which is fantastic. If you had some broth, what you do is you go ahead and just put it right in there. I don't, but I do have some filtered water, which I'm going to add to it. So we have something to make the gravy out of. That's probably about half a cup or less in there. We'll just give it a good stir. It looks a little funky now, but just bear with me, and it's going to turn out just great. You want to keep stirring this as much as you can to make everything just gel together nicely there. See, it's smoothing out a bit. It's not quite so globby anymore. Make sure you're getting those corners too. Everything just kind of hides out on the edges, but you want everyone to join the party. That way it'll taste as best as it can. Now we got ourselves a Class A homemade gravy right in our pan there, right from all the ingredients we used to cook the dinner, and it is going to taste delicious over this steak. And you can take that right off the heat because it's done. It's ready to go. As you can see, I've gone ahead and I've sliced the meat. It's about medium rare. It's quite pink. Which is great for this kind of meat. It's a high-grade meat, and it's going to taste delicious. Don't overcook it. Don't cook it till it's completely well done. That would be a waste. Again, use the meat thermometer as your guide, and just adjust as necessary, but a little pink, it's the way to go. I've opened up the potatoes, and I've also put out the broccoli as well. We only need 2 more things. We need to get that gravy, so let me go get the gravy. We're just going to spoon a little bit onto each. Just get my spoon over here. I'm just going to put the gravy right over the meat like that. It's delicious. It smells heavenly. I think if you make something like this at home, you are not going to be disappointed. It's wonderful. Very satisfying meat and potatoes kind of meal. Great, look at that. Gravy's over it very nicely. And the last thing, which I recommend to you if you're up for it, is the wine we used to make the gravy. If you're going to have a meat meal and you're going to have gravy made with wine, you might as well drink the wine as well, which I highly recommend. Which never use a cooking wine, always use a drinking wine when you're cooking. This is the way to go. So we got our glasses here, and I'm just going to get a little bit of wine. And I'd say we got a meal. Thanks for watching. I hope you try it. Let me know how you like it.